Our bodies require sleep in order to maintain proper function and health. In fact, we are programmed to sleep each night as a means of restoring our bodies and minds. Two interacting systems, the internal biological clock and the sleep-wake homeostat, largely determine the timing of our transitions from wakefulness to sleep and vice versa. These two factors also explain why, under normal conditions, we typically stay awake during the day and sleep at night. But what exactly happens when we drift off to sleep? Prior to the era of modern sleep research, in the early 1920s, scientists regarded sleep as an inactive brain state. It was generally accepted that as night fell and sensory inputs from the environment diminished, so did brain function. In essence, scientists thought that the brain simply shut down during sleep, only to restart again when morning came. In 1929, an invention that enabled scientists to record brain activity challenged this way of thinking. For those who are interested, the researcher who discovered the brain activity is Hans Berger. From recordings known as electroencephalograms, EEGs, researchers could see that sleep was a dynamic behavior, one in which the brain was highly active at times and not turned off at all. Over time, sleep studies using EEGs and other instruments that measure eye movements and muscle activity would reveal two main types of sleep. These were defined by characteristic electrical patterns in a sleeping person's brain, as well as the presence or absence of eye movements. The two main types of sleep are rapid eye movement sleep, called REM, and non-rapid eye movement sleep, called non-REM. On an EEG, REM sleep, often called active sleep, is identifiable by its characteristic low amplitude, high frequency waves, and alpha rhythm, as well as the eye movements for which it is named. Many sleep experts think that these eye movements are in some way related to dreams. Typically, when people are awakened from REM sleep, they report that they had been dreaming, often extremely vivid and sometimes bizarre dreams. In contrast, people report dreaming far less frequently when awakened from non-REM sleep. Interestingly, during REM sleep, muscles in the arms and legs are temporarily paralyzed. This is thought to be a neurological barrier that prevents us from acting out our dreams. As we will see later, there are some sleep disorders that are the consequence of an impairment in these neurological barriers. Non-REM sleep can be broken down into three distinct stages: N1, N2, and N3. In progression from stage N1 to N3, brain waves become slower and more synchronized, and the eyes remain still. In stage N3, the deepest stage of non-REM sleep, EEGs reveal high amplitude, low frequency waves and spindles. This stage is referred to as deep or slow wave sleep. In healthy adults, sleep typically begins with non-REM sleep. The pattern of clear rhythmic alpha activity associated with wakefulness gives way to N1, the first stage of sleep, which is defined by a low voltage mixed frequency pattern. The transition from wakefulness to N1 occurs seconds to minutes after the start of the slow eye movement seen when a person first begins to nod off. This first period of N1 typically lasts just 1 to 7 minutes. The second stage, or N2, which is signaled by sleep spindles and or K complexes in the EEG recording, comes next and generally lasts 10 to 25 minutes. As N2 sleep progresses, there is a gradual appearance of the high voltage, slow wave activity characteristic of N3, the third stage of non-REM sleep. This stage, which generally lasts 20 to 40 minutes, is referred to as slow wave, delta, or deep sleep. As non-REM sleep progresses, the brain becomes less responsive to external stimuli, and it becomes increasingly difficult to awaken an individual from sleep. Following the N3 stages of sleep, a series of body movements usually signals an ascent to lighter non-REM sleep stages. Typically, a 5 to 10 minute period of N2 precedes the initial REM sleep episode. REM sleep comprises about 20 to 25% of total sleep in typically healthy adults. Non-REM sleep and REM sleep continue to alternate throughout the night in a cyclical fashion. Most slow-wave non-REM sleep occurs in the first part of the evening. REM sleep episodes, the first of which may last only 1 to 5 minutes, generally becomes longer through the night. During a typical night, N3 sleep occupies less time in the second cycle than the first and may disappear altogether from later cycles. This is all amply illustrated in Chapter 3 of the Moorcroft text. The average length of the first non-REM sleep cycle is between 70 and 100 minutes. The average length of the second and later cycles is about 90 to 120 minutes. The reason for such a specific cyclic pattern of non-REM and REM sleep across the night is not known. Some scientists speculate that specific sequence of non-REM and REM sleep optimize both physical and mental recuperation as well as some aspects of memory consolidation that occur during sleep, but this has not been quite confirmed. Sleep patterns can be affected by many factors, including age, the amount of recent sleep or wakefulness, the time of the day or night relative to an individual's internal clock, other behaviors prior to sleep such as exercise, stress, environmental conditions such as temperature and light, and various chemicals. For example, for the first year of life, sleep often begins in the REM state. The cyclical alternation of non-REM sleep in newborns is present from birth, but at 50 to 60 minutes is much shorter than the 90-minute cycles that occur in adults. Consolidated nocturnal sleep and fully developed EEG patterns of the non-REM sleep stages emerge only after 2 to 6 months. Slow-wave sleep is greatest in young children, and it decreases steadily with age, even if sleep duration does not change. This may be related to changes in the structure and function of the brain. The quantity and quality of an individual's sleep in recent days can also have dramatic effects on sleep patterns. Repeatedly missing a night's sleep, an irregular sleep schedule, or frequent disturbance of sleep can result in a redistribution of sleep stages, for instance, prolonged and deeper periods of slow-wave non-REM sleep. Drugs may also affect sleep stages. For example, alcohol before sleep tends to suppress REM sleep early in the night. As the alcohol is metabolized later in the night, REM sleep rebounds. However, awakenings also become more frequent during this time. Although it is common for people in many Western societies to sleep in a single consolidated block of about 8 hours during the night, this is by no means the only sleep pattern. In fact, following a 8-hour schedule and foregoing an afternoon nap would seem highly abnormal to many people around the world. In many cultures, particularly those with roots in tropical regions, afternoon napping is commonplace and is built into daily routines, and although the exact timing of naps is not officially scheduled, it is not uncommon for stores and government offices to close and for many activities to stop for an hour or two every afternoon. Afternoon nap time typically coincides with a brief lag in the body's internal alerting signals. These signals, which increases throughout the day to offset the body's increasing drive to sleep, wanes slightly in mid-afternoon, giving sleep drive a slight edge. Napping also typically happens during the warmest period of the day and generally follows a large midday meal. This explains why afternoon sleepiness is so often associated with warm afternoon sun and heavy lunches. Afternoon naps for most people typically last between 30 and 60 minutes. Any longer and there's a risk of falling into deep sleep and having a difficult time of waking. Following a nap, having dissipated some of this accumulated sleep drive, many people report feeling better, able to stay awake and alert in the late afternoon and evening. This increased alertness typically causes people to go to bed later and generally to sleep less at night than people who do not take naps. According to experts, napping can be a good way for people who do not sleep well at night to catch up. They do caution, however, that people with insomnia may make their nighttime sleep problem worse by sleeping during the day. Otherwise, they generally recommend naps for people who feel that they could benefit from them.